Hello and Happy New Year. Nice to have you back. Thank you for joining me. Hope everyone had a happy holiday season and they're ready for 2021. But let's be honest, no matter how bad 2020 was, the fact that you're listening to this says that while it may have been difficult and some people lost loved ones, but at least you're still here with us. But look, there's a lot going on in the world. And what I'm recognizing by the number of emails that I'm getting is that there are a lot of people who are really scared. There are a lot of people who don't know what to do moving forward, especially given that all the modeling is showing that we are about to go through the darkest period of the entire time. And by the way, this is not going to be one of those warm, fuzzy ones. I will leave it on a good note. But the data is what the data is. The question is what do we do with the data? Would you also chime in where you are listening from? What's up, Pam Jones? Welcome back. Thank you very much. I had a wonderful vacation. Sorry for being late today. I was a victim of high school algebra and high school biology. And for those of us who are homeschooling kids or who are taking care of our kids from home, you get it. But look, while things are bleak, there's some upsides. The vaccine is available, and there is more coming. But let's look. We're not going to turn this into a vaccine talk because when I did my last talk, I've got a number of questions, number of emails. We're going to get together and talk about the vaccine again. I promise. But even for you no-vaxxers, some information has recently come out that should just help frame this conversation. AstraZeneca, which has not been approved yet, it uses the old adenovirus technology. They probably will not be approved in this country until March or April. And the United States ordered 200 million doses from them. Pfizer, which is approved, and the vaccination schedule is like way behind. We have 20 million doses ordered. By the way, you've got to divide that 20 million by 2. The reason for that is because that means that's enough for 10 million people. We're going to talk about that. And Moderna is on board, and we purchased several millions from them. But what is my point? If you look at those numbers, there's not enough vaccine to go around before April. Late March or April. I would encourage you that for anyone who's on the fence, anyone who is thinking about getting the vaccine, or anyone who is given the opportunity, take it. I get a bunch of emails, a bunch of texts. Well, which one? Whichever one is available to you. I took the Pfizer one. I got my second dose coming up on Friday. But because it's not widespread and the data is very similar, I would encourage you to take whichever one is available to you. Now, let's deal with this question. You've heard in the media, the UK is doing it. Currently, the Moderna, the AstraZeneca, which is not approved here, and the Pfizer vaccine are 2 doses. In the UK, they're thinking about moving it to 1 dose. Here's why, because you heard me say that there were 20 million doses available here. That means there are 20 million people who could be vaccinated if we give them a single dose. Single dose studies have shown that at about the 4-week mark, you're still about 80% protected. So the feeling is let's get 20 million people vaccinated versus 10 million people vaccinated and they get 90% efficacy. But the current recommendation is 2 doses. But don't be shocked if now you see them moving towards 1 dose. And by the way, I am in favor of that. But let's get started. Let's say hi to a couple. Hey, April, what's going on? Nicolette Green, Vanessa, what's happening? Myra, Opal, what's going on? Hey, Pamela, what's going on? Hey, we're going to jump right into it because I don't have much in terms of the conversation. I just need to frame a different conversation that we're going to have soon. Things are, we're about at 352,000 deaths. we're at several million cases. The reason I don't give you an exact number is because of how they're counting confirmed cases, old cases, new cases, but we are at several million cases. Let's put this in a context. There are 5,198 community hospitals with about 3,532 emergency departments. You know where I'm going with this. And there are about 209 federal hospitals, and those are like VAs and so forth with Walter Reed. But there are only 792,000 hospital beds. In addition to 96,000 ICU beds, with about 23,000 of those being neonatal ICU beds. What is my point? We are reaching a point where the hospital system is being overwhelmed in some areas, and depending on where you live, it's not unreasonable to think that your hospital may get overwhelmed as well. California, parts of California, they are overwhelmed. They are rationing care. Now, before you jump, we've been rationing care kind of since March anyways, meaning that some people who we would normally admit to the hospital, we would safely, we would send them home with close observation. But now the level of rationing care, it's about to change. Within emergency medicine, just so you know, we are trained in mass casualty. And that is, if there's a mass casualty, we are trained in coding people, triaging them, and deciding who gets transported to hospitals and who do we just make comfortable and they don't get transported, and we allow their natural lives, or we allow what nature is going to happen. Now, leadership and the decisions that they make, and at times split-second decisions, are going to play a unique role in your life. A unique role. We call it the crisis standard of care. The crisis standard of care, where basically the senior leadership of any hospital, they form a crisis standard of care team, and they come up with a program in terms of how they're going to go about rationing care if they reach that point. And generally the threshold is at a 70% capacity. 70% capacity means 70% of the hospital beds full, with the emergency department full. They start to think about rationing care. Again, they start to think about rationing care. Now, here's a nugget. Here's a nugget that it made it worth you to listening. If you're in a highly dense, highly populated area, that hospital may be overwhelmed, and they're transferring patients. But the hospital, which is 2 hours away, that's not in a highly dense area, it may not be overwhelmed yet. What's my point? For those of you all who are in high dense areas and you can make it to a hospital further away, I would encourage you to talk to your primary care doctor. And make whatever is the best decision for you and your family. Sidebar: nothing I say should be taken as medical advice. It's just for information purposes only. But I will give you an example. I live here in Washington, D.C., and if I got sick and I knew that I was sick enough where I needed to really be seen, and I was concerned about being admitted to the hospital, there are 4 hospitals in D.C. I wouldn't go to any of those because I would be concerned that they were overwhelmed. I could get on the phone, I could get on the internet and search it and see. I would go to a hospital a few hours away in a less dense area. Again, the nugget is, if you really think you need to be admitted to the hospital and you live in a dense area, consider going to a different hospital. But we're not going to get into the weeds of this tonight, but crisis standard of care is basically implemented when the level of care needed for a patient has to be compromised, meaning we're not able to give the standard level of care. Then you start to adopt the crisis of care protocols, and every crisis of care protocol is different for every hospital. It's different for every hospital. On tomorrow's live, we're actually going to go over what are the 4 main principles, the 4 main concepts. But what I will tell you is COVID is about to reach such an epidemic level that it is so important that you are prepared at home. At home, what do you need? You need over-the-counter antipyretics, meaning NSAIDs, Tylenol for the fever. You got to assume that someone in your house is going to become COVID positive. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but you need to be ready. So you want to make sure that you have over-the-counter medicine. You want to make sure that your family starts taking the vitamin D, zinc, and melatonin now. And also, if you read the bit.ly, that is attached vitamin C as well and vitamin B complex. That's for prevention. There's a different dose for treatment. Now, I know you've heard me say this, but let's keep in mind, for those of us who are waiting for the vaccine, keep in mind, it won't be available for the general population for at least another couple of months. The models are showing that the vaccine will only save about 9,000 lives before April 1st. Whereas masking and social distancing combined will save over 100,000 lives. Will save 100,000 lives. This is one of those times for those of us who have teenagers, raise your hand if you have a teenager. I do. This is one of those times where you have to exert true leadership and just say, no, you cannot go out and hang out with your friends. Let me just keep going. The other thing you want to get for home are balloons. Yes, follow me on this one. And obviously, so in medicine, what you will want is an incentive spirometer, but most of us don't have that. You want balloons at home. Here's why. If someone's COVID positive, this is not the time to get all comfy and get under the cover. No, you want to do what we call pulmonary toilet. You want to exercise those lungs as much as possible. You want to move as much as possible. You want to expand those lungs. And one great way is to blow up a balloon 3 to 4 times an hour during the acute phase, 3 to 4 times an hour. That helps aerate those lungs. And when you sleep, you want to sleep prone, sleep on your stomach. In fact, anytime you are resting and sitting down, you want to be on your stomach. It helps aerate those lungs. You're like, well, why, Geoffrey, why are you giving us all this information about treatment? Because unfortunately, many of us are going to get COVID. We don't have to, but many of us are going to get COVID. So we have to have what we need at home. The other thing is you want plenty of fluids. Because don't forget, we learned this months ago that hydration. I won't go into the details. That helps your immune system function as optimally as possible. We know that there's no such thing as boosting your immune system. No such thing as boosting it. If your immune system's here, there's nothing. I mean, if this is your baseline, there's nothing, zero, nothing you can do to boost it higher. Now, you can cause a compromise of it. You can cause it to go down. Smoking does it. There's certain medications. Extreme stress causes transient decreases in your immune system. So let me tell you how that happens, just real quick. Being chronically stressed causes chronic elevated levels of cortisol. Chronic elevated levels of cortisol, which is also known as a stress hormone. It causes transient reduction in your immune system. Therefore, managing your stress is absolutely key. Changing your filters in your house. Changing the filters without doing the CDC guidelines means nothing. It means nothing. Changing the filters are just an added piece. It is another data point to be helpful. It's another data point. Buy extra masks now. Buy disinfectants now. Buy more hand sanitizer now. And whatever you do, when you leave your house, mask up and assume that everyone is COVID positive. And here we go. This is the final thing. If you go to the hospital, assume that the provider taking care of you is COVID positive. There are some states that have already approved providers who are COVID positive that they are allowed to see patients. So some of you are going to text me and email me and say, well, what do I think about that? I'm in favor of that. Here's why. If it is the case that N95s and all the PPEs protect us from the patient, then it should protect the patient from us as well. But like, what's my point? There's three things you need to like do when you go to the hospital. A, you obviously make sure you have on your mask, but make sure that that all those along the chain, the registration clerk, the techs, the nurse, the doctors, make sure they have on their mask and it's not above. I mean, that the nose is covered as well. 2, ask them to maintain the 6 feet rule while they're interviewing you, while they're talking. And don't forget, I'm a board certified ER doctor who sees patients. There's no reason for them to be in your face talking. So they need to maintain the 6 feet rule. And when they examine you, then they've got to examine you, and everyone assumes the risk that comes along with it. Everyone assumes the risk that comes along with that. And then number 3, make sure that they wash their hands and each instrument that they're going to use for you. Again, it's very likely that if you go to the emergency department, that the person treating you is going to be COVID positive. Hey, thank you very much. Tomorrow we're going to go over the crisis standard of care, what that means, how you can be an advocate for you and your family. And if you get caught in that crisis standard of care and you have a loved one who they want to ration care, there are some there is an appeal process. We will talk more about that tomorrow. Let's take a couple questions. Happy New Year, Nicolette. What's going on? Hey, Monica, Courtney, what's going on? Michael Edwards, Jean, Monica, Courtney, vitamin B complex. That's right. Hey, so I'll give you the dose. I think I gave the dosages for those. If you hit the bit.ly attached to it, it's there. Carol Lawson, great advice for those of us who want to be proactive with doing what we can to keep us safe and out of the hospital. Great job. Hey, Darty Miles, I'm glad you enjoy it. What should be the minimum dose of vitamins? Martina writes, what should be the minimum dose of vitamins? Which vitamin do you mean? And by the way, nothing I say should be taken as medical advice, just for information purposes only. But which vitamin do you need? Do you mean Martina? Freddie Raw, what's going on, Freddie? Hey, what's going on, brother? Now, again, team, this is about leadership and leadership that you need to show for your family. This is about decision making. There's deliberate decisions where you have plenty of time, as much information that is available to you, but there are critical consequences, or there can be. And there are split-second decisions. As it relates to the virus, as it relates to the vaccine, those are deliberate decisions that you should get whatever information that is available to you. And now there's plenty out there. The only piece of information that's not available is the long-term side effects. Many people have reached out and said, well, they need to know the long-term side effect. If that is your standard for taking this vaccine, then you probably will not be taking it. Listen to me, lean into me. There's no one in the world, in the entire world, who can tell you definitively the long-term side effects of any of these 3 main viruses, the Moderna, Pfizer, or the AstraZeneca. Why? Because these are new vaccines. So you're going to have to make some decisions. There's going to have to be a leader in your house who says, hey, house, this is what we're doing. Just so happen, I don't sit on any of these Pfizer, I don't sit on any of these pharmaceutical boards. It has, I'm recommending to my family that when available, we're all taking the vaccine. And if you want to know why, by January 24th, they are expecting roughly about 5,000 deaths per day. 5,000 deaths per day. The reason why you are alive and watching this now is nothing but the grace of God. It has anything special that you've done. Why do I say it that way? I have emergency medicine colleagues who I know, they wore their stuff. I have one emergency medicine doc that he got COVID positive. He happens to be fortunate, has a son who's an emergency medicine resident in a different hospital, and he's COVID positive now. So what is my point? Anything you can do to protect your family, including a vaccine, this is the time. This is the time, because things are definitely getting ready to get difficult. Madonna, Georgia, Nicolette, Madonna, Georgia. Hey, Happy New Year. Oh, wow. Sheila Edwards from Germany. What's up, Sheila? Myra in Georgia. Opal and Burke, Virginia. Monica Courtney, what's up, brother? Hey, what's up, sister? LaShawn Frazier, have not heard from you in a while. So Freddie Raw put it in there for me. Vitamin D, zinc, melatonin, vitamin C. And what was the last one? The last one, sir, and if there's a bit.ly attached to this, the last one is vitamin B complex. Vitamin B complex. And there's a question here, and I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to come off camera, but I am still here. I just want to be able to give you all the bit.ly that actually has that actually has the dose on it. So you can just simply download this bit.ly, and then you are good. Again, you are good. Here we go. It's right here. Download this. This will give you the dosages that you need right away. And a few more questions. Oh, then we have to roll here. But Freddie, that should get you what you need. Vitamin B complex, yes. What does the melatonin do? Why is it good to take? Well, Gene Bailey says, what does the melatonin do? Why is it good to take? I did a whole live on that. Besides decreasing anxiety, don't forget the melatonin plays that entire role in the whole vitamin D pathway. I have to reach out to me. I have to go into a greater detail. It's not one of those quick answers. You're welcome, Freddie. Hey, Monica Courtney, what's going on? Great advice for those of us who want to be proactive. Good job. What should we do about minimum dosage of vitamins? I asked you, what was the dose? Which vitamin were you talking about? So as it relates, so what is the most important vitamin that I recommend of all the vitamins that recommend? And by the way, every so often I do these and someone says, yes, just go take a multivitamin. Stop. That's not what I'm saying. I am uniquely saying that evidence-based, peer-reviewed data is showing that vitamin D uniquely saves lives. Zinc does as well. Melatonin does as well. Vitamin C, the data is iffy, but what I do notice is that in the hospitals, we're giving vitamin C and we're giving vitamin B complex, even for those people who we send home. By the way, nothing I say should be taken as medical advice. It's just for information purposes only. Hey, this is time to get your grind on. This is time. Fear cannot live in you now. This is the time to get very vigilant about you, your family, and what's going on. Remember back in March, we were a little scared. Nah, fear is gone. We know what's going on. We know how this thing is transmitted. We know what we can do to protect ourselves. And I don't like ending on a bad note, but things now are a lot worse than what they were back in March. Way worse. But it's okay. You got the vaccine. We know that mask, gowning up, washing hands, socially distance helps. And for those of y'all, just real quick, and then I'm gone. For those of you who keep needing to go out to restaurants, look, you lost your mind. Here's why. There are 5 places that are accountable for 80% of the transmissions. 5 places. Restaurants, bars and cafes, places of worship, hotels, and gyms. They're accountable for 80% of the transmissions, with the restaurants accounting for 40% of those 80. And look, for those of you who say, I need to go out, because you haven't switched your mindset. You're still thinking about life as it was this time last year. Life has changed. It's time for us to make some split-second decisions about how we're going to live our life, at least for these next 3 months, because things are about to change. Hey, everyone, be safe. Here we go. Just real quick. Zinc, D and zinc. Yes. I'm not sure, Martina, I'm not sure what you mean by D zinc. How do you feel after getting the vaccine? Hey, Ramona asked me how I feel about getting the vaccine. So for those of you who don't know, I got my first shot December the 18th. I'm scheduled to get my second shot on Friday. Cannot wait. I feel great. Believe it or not. All right. For those of y'all who've been rocking with me, you all know, I'm not a scary dude at all. I'm not scary at all. I was so surprised that when I got my shot, I felt relieved. I felt so much relief. And I also knew I was going to be able to hug my mother. In about 3, so after Friday, I'll wait 2 weeks. And while still not recommending, that you hugged. I haven't hugged my mom in like 9 months. So after I get my next shot, I'll wait two weeks. I'll be 94% vaccinated, or 94% effect. The vaccine will be 95% effective. I'm gonna take that risk and hug my mom. Hey, if you all trust me in any type of way, I've shared all the data that I know. If there's some hidden scientists out there that we don't know about, I don't know about. But the data that I've read, and I've read them all. I'm not gonna say I've read all. I've read the papers from Moderna and Pfizer. I believe it. All right, here we go. Along with zinc, is it more than 50 milligrams a day? Once you take a small dose of copper, correct? For example, I know nothing about copper. So by the way, so Pamela Jones wrote something about copper. It could be true. Could be true. As promised, I only present evidence-based, peer-reviewed information. I have not read that about copper. Hey, Princess, you're in Indiana, so you're no longer in Hampton. All right. Jacqueline, the grace of God. Oh, my God. There we go. Who put, oh, my God. Oh, my God. Getting right down everything advised about the vitamins I'm getting. Much. Yeah. Hey, Vincent, get your vitamins. No joke. And I also put the bit.ly in there that you can get the dosages. So there's a prevention dose and there's a treatment dose. There's a prevention dose and there's a treatment dose. Make sure you take the prevention dose. And by the way, the new study on vitamin D says it's protective against COVID. It's protective against COVID. Okay. Hey, gotta go. It's been nice. I will talk to you all soon. Bye.